Luka Modric is without a doubt one of the best midfielders of our generation, and even amongst all the greatest who have ever played the game. But the nearly 37 years old Modric is doing something we've never really seen before from other all-time greats like him. And this year especially, he has been phenomenal in both club and country. A different breed of midfield that we could only see once in a few generations. And I would place him among the top 5 greatest midfielders of all time. He is an elite company alongside names like Zidane, Xavi, Iniesta, Cruyff, Ronaldinho and many more. But let's look at the main aspects that really sets Luka Modric apart from all others, and show why he is truly built different. So welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about the midfield maestro Luka Modric, and let's get started. So today we're going to look at how incredible Modric has been, and why he is truly built different, and doing things that no other midfielder has ever done before. Football is a very physical sport. One has to consistently move throughout the pitch, which often involves having to make quick sprints. The sport has been more favorable towards younger athletes. With fresher legs, midfielders especially have to be constantly moving, and even more when they're defensive midfielders. Defensive midfielders often have to slide and make tackles, and it definitely doesn't get easier with age. He has stood above many all-time great midfielders like him. Let us just have a look at who are considered to be all-time great midfielders. Firstly, we have Xavi, without a doubt one of the best midfielders of all time, and one of if not the greatest passer we've ever seen. Xavi wasn't the most athletic player we've seen, and definitely wasn't making full-speed sprints most of the time, but despite that by the time he left Barcelona in 2015 he was well past his prime. At just 35 years of age, Xavi was playing in the Middle East for a much less competitive league in Qatar. And Andres Iniesta on the other hand was a much more athletic midfielder than Xavi, often involved in the attack and receiving a lot of contact from defenders, especially with his tight dribbling and having to sprint more to continue the attack. He was especially dangerous as a playmaker near the box. By the time Iniesta left Barcelona in 2018, he was only 34 years old, and moved on to play in Japan, a more elite league than Qatar, but definitely not a top 5 league at all. While he still did have that amazing dribbling and touch, his fitness was far from his prime. Next comes Andrea Pirlo, arguably the greatest Italian midfielder of all time, and like Xavi and Iniesta, one of the very few in his position to win multiple Champions League trophies, and a World Cup played and much more. His passing and vision were amazing, and many people especially these days often forget just how great of a footballer he was, and of the latter two mentioned he spent a longer time in a top league. By the time he left Juventus to move on to play for the American League back in 2015, he was 36 years old, and even then he was way past his prime, not really playing as big of a playmaking role as he once did. And amongst Xavi and Iniesta I'd agree that Pirlo was able to stay in better fitness for. When we talk about football, one name always comes to the mind, Zinedine Zidane, without a doubt was one of the few players in history who could single-handedly carry his team to victory. Of course he played a much more physical style of football, so naturally his body couldn't hold out for that long. By the start of his final season for Real Madrid, he was only 33 years old, definitely ending his career much younger than the previously mentioned midfielders. Right before his retirement, we saw Zidane absolutely dominate the World Cup, and carry France all the way to the World Cup final, one of the best performances we've ever seen from a player. At the age of 34, it seemed like Zidane was still in his prime. He could have played at a high level in a top league for a year or two more, but soon he chose to hang his boots up. Now let's look at Modric. He is only a few months away from being 37 years old, older than any of the other midfielders I previously mentioned, and is still playing like he's in his prime. And Modric is definitely putting his body under a lot of stress at the age of 36. We still see Modric making full-speed sprints, and sliding on the ground to make tackles. Even then he still makes runs, and can make passes as beautifully as ever. By his age now everyone else I mentioned earlier, basically either played for a small league, or was retired, and still at this age, Modric remains a central figure in his club's success, helping Real Madrid to win the Champions League for the 14th time, making it the 5th in Modric trophy case. And like Zidane, we've seen Modric with an absolutely amazing World Cup performance at 33 years old. Modric helped his country reach the 2018 World Cup final, although I don't think Modric carried his country nearly as much as Zidane did. He was definitely the best player in his country, and overall in the tournament, being named the best player in the tournament just like Zidane was back in 2006. And just recently in the Nations League, Modric is continuing to put on masterful performances against nations like France. At nearly 37 years old, this level of consistency and longevity, from an all-time great midfielder, has never been seen before, and for that Luka Modric is indeed something special. Back in young days, Dinamo's Grab noticed the young boy's skill and determination, and gave him a chance. This opportunity would eventually lead him to Tottenham, and then Real Madrid, where he has become a popular name and a legend of the game. In comparison, Xavi, Iniesta and Pirlo were younger that were noticed early on, and have been professionally raised and sheltered as footballers in club academies. For countries at peace to see how a kid from a war-torn nation can make it in football, just goes to show you how strong Modric is as a person. When you look at some of the greatest midfielders of all time, there's no doubt that the English pundits are always in the conversation of who's better than who. Not many midfielders have the guts that Modric has. Xavi, Iniesta and Zidane are world champions of their countries, and have shown millions of fans just how beautiful the game of football can be. However, despite that, they've never been the best players in those World Cup tournaments. While Modric might not have won the World Cup with Croatia, still he was named the best player of the tournament. An honor that is historically given to more attacking positions, and goal scorers, rather than defensive midfielders. In 2018, Modric finished just a few votes ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo to win the Ballon d'Or. Now many believe this was very unfair because, if Modric won one, Xavi and Iniesta certainly should have won one as well. Personally, Modric is one of the top 5 midfielders in history, yet he didn't deserve the award over Cristiano Ronaldo back in 2018, who had his 4th best season. Of course, again, there are many others who thought he did deserve it for being amazing in the World Cup, where most voters voted for the award based on the entire year. In fact, at this very moment there are legitimate cases for Modric to be named one of the best midfielders in the world, even at his age, which just further proves how special of a player he is. Let me know in the comments where you rank Luka Modric in your all-time list of midfielders. And that's it for today. We will be back with a new one. Take care.